The storm howled across the mountains, like a wolf mourning its dead snow. Flurries scratched against the old log cabin nestled in the pines far from the nearest road. Inside, Nathan stoked the fire, the only sound in the silence of solitude. His radio had died 3 days ago, and his generator was sputtering just like everything else in his life. He liked to quiet, or rather he told himself he did. Nathan had lived alone for the better part of 6 years after the accident, after the guilt and the pain drove him farther from civilization. With every passing season the cabin was peace, penance and prison alone, but that peace shattered with a desperate thud. 3 sharp knocks, no, not knocks, collapses. Something heavy slammed against his door. Nathan froze, poker still in his hand, for a heartbeat. He thought it might be a tree branch, then he heard it, a lone hoarse groan. He rushed to the door, heart pounding against his ribs like a warning. When he flung it open, the storm clawed inside, and with it a girl, no, a woman, crumpled in a heap on his porch. Snow clung her skin like ash, her long red hair was matted with ice, and her bare arms and legs were blotched with frost. Her tattered orange dress was more suited for a summer picnic than a snowstorm, and her eyes, when they flickered open just briefly, held a shame deeper than the cold. Please, she whispered, then she collapsed again, unconscious. He didn't think. He scooped her up, startled by how light she was. She felt like broken twigs and regret wrapped in frozen skin. Nathan carried her inside and laid her by the fire. He stripped off his jacket and draped it around her, then quickly wrapped her in every blanket he had. Her lips were tinged blue, her knees and arms were bruised and scratched. Something had happened, something worse than the cold. He lit a kettle, turned up the fire, and sat close, watching her breathe shallowly. His mind raced. Who was she? Why was she alone out here, dressed like that? What did she run from? But the one question that echoed louder than the others was this: why did she look so familiar? Hours passed, the storm raged. The woman shivered but didn't wake. When she finally stirred, it was near midnight. Nathan was dozing in a rocking chair, a shotgun nearby just in case. Her voice, fragile and unsure, broke the silence. Where am I? He jolted upright. You're safe. You collapsed on my porch. You're lucky I heard you. She blinked slowly, as if trying to piece reality together. Then her face crumpled and she tried to sit up, but the pain made her gasp. Don't move too fast, he said gently. You've been through hell, just rest. Her eyes filled with tears and she shook her head. I shouldn't have come. I didn't mean to. I just didn't know where else to go. Her voice cracked. Nathan knelt beside her. Do I know you? She looked at him for a long time and she said one word that twisted his stomach in an instant. Elias. His breath caught. No one had called him that name in years. My name is Nathan, he said cautiously, but his voice betrayed the confusion in his gut. Not Elias. She smiled bitterly. You changed it then. I wondered if you would. Nathan studied her again, this time not as a stranger, but through a lens he had long buried. Wait, he whispered. I know you. Of course you do, she said, her voice tremulous. You saved my life once. I thought maybe you'd do it again. Her name was Clara. 10 years ago they'd lived in the same town. She was 17 then, he was 23. Fresh out of the army and trying to find something that resembled normally. They'd crossed paths when Clara's mother overdosed, leaving her to fend for herself. Nathan had been her lifeline, the one who took her to the hospital, called social services, made sure she had food and shelter. For a while they had clung to each other, 2 broken souls trying to keep the other from drowning. And then Clara disappeared. He searched for her. The police said she probably ran, that kids like her didn't stay, but he never forgot the fire in her eyes, the quiet resilience. Now here she was, older, bruised, frozen, and full of sorrow. I didn't recognize you, he said. You've changed. So have you, she said. You look haunted. He didn't deny it. Clara spent the next few days recovering. Nathan gave her space, though every fiber of him burned with curiosity and concern. She didn't talk much at first, just stare at the fire like it might burn the past away if she looked hard enough. Finally, one night she spoke. I ran from someone. She said quietly, someone who said he loved me, who made me forget who I was. Nathan listened without interrupting. He was charming at first, older, rich, he said. I reminded him of a flame, unpredictable, bright. He wanted to protect me. Her voice trembled. Then he wanted to own me. Clara revealed years of control, isolation, manipulation. She'd been cut off from friends, locked away, treated like a thing, not a person. And when she finally ran, he chased her, tracked her like prey. She had nothing but the clothes she escaped in. I kept walking, she said, through the woods. I remembered you talked about this cabin once. I didn't even know if it was real. It is, Nathan said, eyes hard. And you're safe now. He's not getting through that door. She looked up, eyes glistening. Thank you. The days turned to a week. Clara regained strength, color, hope. She started helping around the cabin, cooking, cleaning, laughing softly at his old war stories. The silence that once choked Nathan now felt warm, shared. But just when peace returned, danger came knocking. It was a Friday afternoon when the crunch of tires on snow rang out like gunfire. Nathan looked through the frosted window and saw a black SUV pulling up the trail, a vehicle that didn't belong out here. Clara's face went pale. That's him. Nathan's jaw clenched. Stay inside. He stepped out, shotgun in hand, and met the stranger halfway. A tall, sleek man stepped out, dressed too well for the mountains. He smiled like a shark. I'm looking for someone, he said smoothly. My fiancée. Poor girl ran off. She's not well, you see. She's been known to wander. She's not here. Nathan lied evenly. The man's eyes narrowed. You sure? Because this cabin's a little off the beaten path. Not exactly coincidence. I don't like people trespassing. Nathan said you should go. The man studied him for a moment, then smiled. I'll be back with friends that night. Clara trembled by the fire. I shouldn't have come. I brought this to your door. Nathan knelt in front of her. Clara, listen to me. You didn't bring trouble. You escaped it. That man is the problem, not you. She nodded, tears welling again. I'm just tired of running. Then let's make sure you don't have to run anymore. Nathan was a man who had trained for war, who had lost his brother to a senseless conflict and lived in guilt ever since. But now, for the first time in years, he felt purpose rise like heat in his chest. This was worth fighting for. He booby trapped the trail, made calls on an old satellite phone buried in a shed, and when the black SUVs returned the next day with 3 men inside, Nathan and Clara were what followed was chaos. Snow exploded beneath tires as hidden spikes shredded rubber. A warning shot from Nathan's shotgun sent the men diving for cover, and when they approached on foot, they found themselves outmatched, not just by the traps but by the fury of a man with nothing to lose and everything to protect. By the time the sheriff arrived, whom Nathan had called an hour before, the strangers were disarmed, detained and arrested. Turns out Clara's ex-fiancé was already under federal investigation for human trafficking. When it was over, Clara and Nathan stood side by side, watching the men driven away in handcuffs. You saved me, she whispered. He looked at her, and I shook his head. No, you saved yourself. I just opened the door. She smiled, the kind of smile that promised spring after a long, brutal winter. Weeks passed. Clara stayed. The snow began to melt, revealing green shoots beneath. Life, stubborn and persistent, was returning to the mountain. One morning Nathan came back from chopping with A to find Clara outside, barefoot in the snow, arms outstretched to the sunrise. Cold, he said, smirking. Not anymore, she said, beaming. She turned, ran to him and hugged him tightly, and for the first time in years he let himself believe that healing wasn't just possible, it was already happening. Together.